Jungkook strode into the hallway, his jaw set with tension. Catching sight of a maid, he stopped. Where is she? He demanded. The maid looked up, a bit startled. She's in her room, sir. She wasn't feeling well, so she's taking a shower. Without wasting a second, Jungkook made his way to Wine's room. He entered quietly, settling onto the bed to wait, his mind swirling with worry and frustration. Moments later, Wine emerged from the bathroom in an oversized hoodie. Her hair damp, looking a bit surprised to find him there. She noticed the hard expression on his face as she walked towards him. What's wrong? She asked, her voice soft with concern. Jungkook's eyes narrowed. You went to Maid Anderson again? I did, Wine replied calmly, though she could sense the irritation in his voice. And you didn't think to inform me? His voice held an edge, his gaze never leaving hers. I did text you, but you didn't see it, she explained. Jungkook let out a tense sigh before standing and pulling her into his arms, his grip firm yet comforting. She could feel the tension ease just slightly as he held her. Tell me, Cook. Wine murmured, running a gentle hand along his back. Is there something else bothering you? He took a breath, hesitating. Someone sent me pictures of you and Anderson. They messaged me out of the blue, and I thought something had happened to you. I tried calling, but you didn't pick up. I was worried, Wine, really worried. Her expression softened with understanding. I'm sorry for making you worry, Cook. My phone's battery died. He released a long breath, his shoulders easing. Next time, tell me first, okay? I want to know where you are. Or better yet, he added, his voice gentler. Just let me come with you. I will take you wherever you need to go. One evening, a new team of staff arrived at the mansion, a few fresh faces here to help around the sprawling property. Among them was Mina, a young maid with bright eyes and a soft voice. But what started as polite admiration from afar quickly became something deeper for Mina. She was drawn to Jungkook's commanding presence. The way he carried himself with strength and confidence, his dark eyes sharp and intense. She had never seen anyone like him, and her curiosity soon turned into infatuation. One was the first to notice the subtle glances Mina threw Jungkook's way. Whenever she passed him in the hallway, her smile lingered a little too long, and if he looked in her direction, she seemed to straighten, trying to draw his attention, though Wine found it assuming at first. The more Mina pushed her boundaries, the more it piqued Wine's irritation. She knew Chunga was loyal to her, but Mina's behavior was beginning to get on her nerves. One evening, Wine and Jungkook sat down to dinner in the grand dining area. The soft glow of the lights casting a warm effect over their faces. They talked about their day, Jungkook's hand occasionally reaching across the table to touch hers. The quiet intimacy between them unmistakable. Suddenly, Mina entered the room carrying a dish. She moved to Jungkook's side, bending low as she served him, her blouse dipping enough to show off more than necessary. She lingered beside him, her eyes fixed on him with a faint, hopeful smile. Thank you, Mina. Jungkook said, his tone polite but detached as he kept his gaze focused on Vine. He seemed oblivious to Mina's attempts to draw his attention. Vine raised an eyebrow, clearly noticing Mina's lingering presence. She bite back a smile, deciding to watch how long Mina would keep up this charade. After a moment, when it became clear Mina wasn't moving, Wine finally spoke up. Mina, would you mind bringing me some water, please? Wine's voice was soft but held a firm undertone that didn't leave room for argument. Mina hesitated, an irritated figure crossing her face before she nodded. Yes, ma'am. She nodded, her voice tired as she stepped away. Once she was out of earshot, Wine leaned closer to Jungkook, unable to hold back her amusement any longer. Did you see that? Jungkook glanced at her confused. See what? Wine chuckled, shaking her head. Mina, she was practically throwing herself at you and you didn't even notice, did you? Jungkook frowned, glancing toward the door as if only how considering it. You think so? He shrugged, turning back to Wine with a small smile. Guess I'm blind when it comes to anyone but you. Wine laughed softly, giving him an affectionate look. You're so oblivious sometimes, Cook. She's been trying to get your attention for days now. He took her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. Well, she's wasting her time. You know, you are the only one I would ever notice. No one else even comes close. Just then, Mina returned with a glass of water, setting it down beside Wine a bit too sharply. She gave Jungkook a hopeful look, clearing her throat. Is there anything else I can get for you, sir? Jungkook didn't even glance at her. No, we are good here, Mina. Thank you. Wine nodded, flashing a polite smile. Yes, that's will be all. Thank you. Mina's expression faltered, but she gave a stiff nod before walking out of the room, defeated. When she was gone, Jungkook laughed softly, shaking his head as he looked at Wine. You think she will get the hint now? He asked, his tone laced with humor. Wine smirked, lifting her glass. Oh, I'm pretty sure she understands now that you're taken, and if not, I will happily remind her. Jungkook grinned, leaning closer as his voice dropped to a warm murmur. You know, I kind of like seeing you all possessive. It's cute. She tilted her head, pretending to pout. Just cute, not fierce and intimidating. He laughed, his gaze softening as he looked into her eyes. Well, to the rest of the world, maybe you are fierce, but to me, you will always be my gentle sweet wine, the only one who was my heart. They exchanged a tender smile, their hands still intertwined as they finished their meal. Unbothered by any lingering jealousy, one sunny afternoon, Wine left for a coffee date with her friend Olivia. It had been a hectic week, and a few hours of laughter with her friend sounded like the perfect escape. She texted Jungkook, letting him know she would be out for a while, though she doubted he would even see it until later. He was buried in work, as usual, consumed by endless meetings and reports. In his office, Jungkook was wrapping up his day when his phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the unknown number and, after a moment's hesitation, picked up. Hello. The voice on the other end was low and smooth, with a hint of concern. Mr. Jungkook, I'm sorry to bother you, but I thought you should know. I saw your wife today. She was with another man, and they seemed quite close. Jungkook's grip on the phone tightened. Who is this? He demanded, irritation flashing in his eyes. And what are you trying to say? I'm just a concerned friend. The voice continued, pretending to be helpful. I thought you deserved to know. They looked very comfortable with each other. Before Chonko could respond, the line went dead, leaving him with the unsettling echo of her words. His chest tightened as jealousy and doubt crept in, and though he knew wine wouldn't betray him, the thought nagged at him. Jungkook, he would be her friend because I trust my love. He tried to shake it off, but the suspicion once planted was hard to ignore. Later that evening, Jungkook paced the length of the living room, his fists clenched, frustration simmering beneath his calm facade. Every time he pictured wine with someone else, laughing, confident, and unbridled anger flowed up inside him. How could she have been out with another man, even if it was just a friend, without letting him know directly? The door finally opened and Vine stepped inside, visibly tired but surprised to see him waiting. Jungkook, she hesitated, reading the tension in his stance. You are still up? His eyes dark and intense, locked onto hers, and he didn't hold back. Where were you? Wine stiffened at the edge in his voice. With Olivia, I texted you earlier. Texted, he scoffed, closing the distance between them. Someone called and told me you were with another man. Laughing, enjoying yourself. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Our brows knit together. Confusion morphing into frustration. Jungkook, do you seriously believe a stranger were me? I was with Olivia. Why are you acting like this? Because Vine, he piped out, his voice low and dangerous. I have a right to know where you are, who you are with. He reached out, grabbing her arm gently but firmly, holding her gaze. Don't you understand? When I couldn't reach you, when I thought you were with someone else. His voice broke slightly, a hint of vulnerability slipping through his hardened exterior. Chungu, I would never betray you. You know that. She softened, reaching to touch his face, but he turned away, a bitter chuckle escaping him. Then why couldn't you call me? His anger had not dissipated. If anything, if it intensified as he pulled her closer, his gaze fixed on hers. You think I can live without you? Think again. This jealousy, this madness I feel is because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Before she could respond, his mouth claimed hers in a fierce, possessive, and almost desperate edge to it. His hand slid to her waist, pulling her flesh against him, as if afraid to let her slip away. Wine catch off guard. Melted into her own frustration dissolving in the hate between them. After a long, breathless moment, he pulled back, his gaze searching hers, a mixture of anger, longing, and regret in his dark eyes. Don't ever make me feel like that again. Why do you hear me? Wine, still dazed, looked up at him, her own emotions tangled and intense. I would never hurt you, Jungkook, but you can't just assume the worst about me. I love you, but I need you to trust me. He nodded slowly, his hand coming up to gently stroke her cheek, his aggression fading to something softer. I know, he murmured, his voice rough. I'm sorry, but just the thought of losing you. She cupped his face, bringing his forehead to hers. You won't lose me, Jungkook. I'm yours always. They stayed like that for a moment, wrapped in each other's arms, the tension slowly ebbing as they held on. Both vowing to move past the jealousy and the anger, knowing that their love would carry them through. Upstairs, Mina lingered near the staircase, peeking through the banister as she watched Jungkook and Vine embrace. The last remnants of their argument fading as they held each other close. Her fingers clenched tightly around the railing, her eyes narrowing as she saw Jungkook gently Vine's forehead, whispering soft apologies that only she could hear. Mina gritted her teeth, jealousy flashing in her eyes. Every time she thought she would finally manage to create a rift between them, they somehow came back even stronger. She clenched her fists, frustration bubbling beneath her composed expression. Again, she muttered under her breath, unable to hide her irritation. Every time I get close, they just. She stopped herself, glancing around to make sure no one was near. Taking a deep breath, she forced herself to calm down. A twisted smile forming on her lips as a new idea took shape. If they're so determined to hold on to each other, she whispered, her voice barely audible, then I will just have to step up my game. Her eyes glinted with a dangerous determination as she slowly turned and walked away. Plotting her next move, she was unwavering this time. Her plan would be foolproof. A week later, things had settled back into a routine. Wine and Jungkook were getting along. Their relationship stronger after the argument. They spent quiet evenings together, enjoying each other's company. Though the tension with Mina still lingered just beneath the surface. Wine had not forgotten the way Mina had watched them during the fight, the way she would almost seem to enjoy their tension. One afternoon, Wine was sitting in the living room reading a book. Her mind wandering as she thought about how much things had changed in such a short time. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, but she pushed it aside, focusing on the quiet moments she was sharing with Jungkook. Meanwhile, Mina was in her room, freezing nervously. She pulled out her phone, checking the message she had just received from her friend. So, what happened? Did you get him? Was he convinced yet? Mina sighed. Sitting down on her bed, she typed her response quickly, her fingers trembling slightly with frustration. No, not yet. His wife is always around and he sticks to her like glue. It's like she's his shadow. Every time I try to get close, she's always there, ruining everything. Her phone buzzed again almost immediately. You know what? I have an idea. You need to create a situation, something that will make Wine question her place in his life. Mina read the message, her eyes narrowing as the idea formed. She smirked, typing back quickly, "Tell me what to do." Her friend's reply was quick and sinister. You need to get him alone, make sure she doesn't walk in. If she sees anything unexpected, she will start questioning everything. Trust me, it will work. Mina read the message again, the Davis plan settling into her mind. She knew she had to act quickly. The next step in her game had to be perfect. Later that day, when Wine was out of the house running errands, Mina saw her chance. She knew Jungkook was in his office working and she had to take the opportunity. She quickly went to his room, heart pounding in her chest as she checked the hallway to make sure no one was around. She entered his room and was immediately struck by the sleek, dark furniture and the familiar scent of him in the air. She took a deep breath and moved closer to his desk, where he sat, hunched over some papers without any warning. Mina accidentally bumped into the edge of the desk, stumbling forward, her body falling on top of him. Jungkook, she gasped, trying to look surprised as she landed on him. Her hands bracing against his chest to steady herself. She couldn't hide the smudged look in her eyes as she hovered above him. Pretending to be flustered, Jungkook, catch off guard, looked up at her with wide eyes. Before he could react, the door to the room creaked open. Wine stepped inside, and the sight before her froze her in her tracks. Mina was on top of Jungkook, their faces so close that for a split second it looked like they were in a compromising position. The shock on Wine's face was immediate, her heart sinking as she stood there, paralyzed with disbelief. Her mouth went dry as she took in the scene. Mina's flushed face and the way her body was pressed so intimately against Jungkook's. Her mind raced the insecurities and doubts from before coming crushing back. Mina, Wine's voice broke through the tense silence, her tone sharp and harsh. Mina quickly scrambled off Jungkook, standing up and brushing herself off, her eyes wide with fake innocence. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I just. She let the sentence hang, her voice dripping with faint embarrassment as she shot a glance at Jungkook, who was now standing, clearly uncomfortable. Wine turned to Jungkook, her expression unreadable, though the hurt in her eyes was unmistakable. Jungkook, she whispered, her voice strained. Is this what you want? Jungkook's eyes flicked between Wine and Mina, his own heart racing. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The silence between them stretched painfully long. I don't know what just happened, he finally stammered, looking directly at Wine. I didn't. But Wine was already backing away, her emotions a whirlwind of hurt and confusion. I can't do this right now. She turned and hurried out of the room, her footsteps heavy and fast as she fled down the hallway. Mina stood there watching with a self satisfied smirk, knowing that this was exactly what she had planned. Her eyes glinted with malice as she watched Wine's retreated figure. You will regret this, Jungkook, and you will be mine soon enough. Jungkook stood frozen, his heart sinking into his stomach. He ran a hand through his hair, fighting the rising panic in his chest. He wanted to go after Wine, explain, but he knew that the damage had already been done. Mina, sensing her victory, gave a satisfied look at Jungkook before turning to leave. I will leave you two to talk, she said with a false sweetness, leaving him alone in the room, his thoughts a storm of confusion and regret. Jungkook finally ran after Vine, desperate to fix everything, but as he rounded the corner, he couldn't shake the feeling that this time things might be different. This time, the distance between them felt far too wide.